Let's bring in our next caller then. This is Neil. Hello, Neil.
Hello, Tony. Hello, Chief Minister.
Hello, Neil.
It's actually a three-part question, so I'll get through it. The first part is, are all the council and ministers on board with implementing the recommendations of the care inquiry? Because, I don't know about all of them, but I know the most vocal one who's been against the care inquiry is Senator Balash. He disagrees with the care inquiry that Andrew Lewis lied to it. He disagrees with the recommendation of separating the legislature and the judiciary. He voted against the care inquiry getting extra money. So the first part of the question is, are all the council and ministers on board with you, Chief Minister, in implementing this care inquiry recommendations?
Well, it really is too early to say absolutely that all ministers will support all of the proposals that I bring forward to deliver on the recommendations of the care inquiry. You've just highlighted one particular area, which is the role of the bailiff and the separation of those powers, where there may be, because there has been historically, a number of ministers who don't support that particular change. The care inquiry said that we should look at those independent reports again. I'm on record and I strongly believe that our institutions need to evolve and change, and one of those is who chairs the States Assembly, and I'm very much in favour of having an elected speaker to chair the States Assembly. But I come back to the point that Robert raised with me about property. I can't do that on my own. I need enough votes in the Assembly and people to be persuaded that that is the right thing to do at this time, albeit I think it fundamentally is. Council of Ministers, coming back to your broader point, have started discussion before the summer recess on what was going to be needed to deliver on the recommendations of the inquiry. At this point, we are agreed that we need to bring forward proposals for all of those recommendations. There may be divergence as we go through about exactly how we deliver on them, maybe around independent inspection and how we're going to deliver that. But Neil, I give you the commitment again, and I give the public of Jersey the commitment that I gave on the day that the inquiry was published. I am not going to be put off track from delivering the changes and the recommendations that the inquiry ask. And the more I've looked at the report, the more committed I am to delivering change. And it's not just actually change in children's service and protection of children, vitally important as that is. It also shines a light on the institution of the public service and how we need to change that as well. And I've been in this job for a number of years. I'm a reasonable person. I like to think that I'm rational. But I myself have got really tired of being told that things can't be done and things can't be changed. And I'm not prepared to accept that anymore.
Have you got a timescale attached to this, Chief Minister?
Yeah, I'm going to be bringing back proposals with the support of those directly involved ministers, Health Minister, Home Affairs Minister, Education Minister, Senator Routier, who's involved in social policy, the Minister for Housing, Deputy of Trinity, or Deputy Pryke as we know her as, and they are really supporting change. We'll be bringing forward those in October. We'll be asking the states to approve those measures that we need to bring forward. But equally, I haven't sat still. And already starting to recruit a children's commissioner. That recruitment process has started. I've already asked the Care Commission to think about bringing forward independent inspection of children's services. But actually, it's not just children's services that need to be inspected. It's how we deal with children right across the state. So it needs to be really broad and radical.
Right, can I have my second part?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can keep it as brief as possible so we can get more people on.
Yeah, well, to be fair, it is Chief Minister Gorse that's taken the time up, not me. I just wondered, because I agree with what Senator Gorse says, and I agree he's trying to do the right thing. But obviously one of the recommendations of the care inquiry was to dispel the negative connotations of the Jersey Way. Well, it was only a couple of weeks ago we saw Senator Balash defending Andrew Lewis at the PPC hearing after the Kerr inquiry found that Andrew Lewis lied. Now, if I'd have lied to the Kerr inquiry, I'd be put in prison by now. Obviously, and politicians can't be put in prison for lying. But Senator Balash was defending him at the PPC inquiry. Now, isn't that the Jersey Way in all its glory, Chief Minister? I know you want to change the negative connotations, but isn't that? I mean, I'm sure Senator Balash wouldn't have been defending you if you were found out to be a liar at the Kerr inquiry, and I'm quite sure he wouldn't be defending me either. So isn't Senator Balash sort of undermining your authority and carrying on the negative connotations of the Jersey Way?
I don't think for a minute think that Senator Balash is undermining my authority, nor intends to do so. It was his decision to appear with Andrew Lewis, Deputy Lewis of St Helier, before the PPC. I've said clearly again from day one that it's right that PPC considered what the inquiry said about a state's member. My understanding is that they've upheld what the inquiry said, and now they will be publishing their detailed findings and any penalty associated with that. I support that process. I think that's absolutely the right process that should be. When it comes back to this, whether states members should have immunity when appearing before an inquiry, I think that's a really good question. There shouldn't be an unlevel playing field between members of the public appearing before a public inquiry. Some of this is because of the legislation that we had to use to deliver the public inquiry, but I know that PPC and the GREF are now looking at that, and I think that they'll be bringing forward proposals so that in the future you don't have that differential, because it rightly seems to the public, and I understand this, absolutely unfair. Yes, you have parliamentary privilege when you're speaking in the Assembly as a states member. That's right, because that protects, it's there to protect freedom of speech. But we all have a responsibility to think about what we're saying. I believe all the time, but equally I should be able to say exactly what I think when I'm in the Assembly.
Yeah,
but I should be on the same. I should be on exactly the same level playing field with any member of the public when I'm appearing before a public inquiry.
Of course, but speaking in the States is one thing, perjury is another, which is what Deputy Lewis has been accused of. In fact, let me just bring in a point from Tony in St Helier. He says, why hasn't Deputy Andrew Lewis been charged with perjury for lying to the state's inquiry? He said, anybody else who gives evidence to a public inquiry would have done. Does the rule need to be changed, Tony wants to know?
Yeah, and that's what I've just said, that parliamentary privilege, because of the way that the inquiry was set up as a committee of the states, parliamentary privilege extended to states members appearing before the inquiry. And I see exactly why members of the public think that's unfair. It's an unlevel playing field. A member of the public might have found themselves in this position and therefore be facing an investigation.
So will you do something about it?
I've said that PPC, together with the GREF, are looking at this area. I have known from the start when I brought forward the terms of reference for the inquiry, that what we were trying to do was fit a fully independent public inquiry into our current committee of inquiry legislation. We've never done anything like this before, and it became quite apparent at the start that our legislation covering public inquiries was woefully inadequate. And now actually we're just seeing another point of that people can be treated differently when they're appearing before the inquiry. They shouldn't be. They shouldn't be treated any differently at all, and that's another thing that we need to change when we're bringing forward what will have to be a new inquiry law.
Okay, and just to finish off, because again, that is the Jersey way, isn't it? Like, that somebody's getting away with something here, that the rest of us will get done for perjury, and they've got Senator Balash defending them. That is the Jersey way, Chief Minister, and it is unfortunate that you don't see that Senator Balash is undermining your authority, and everybody else can see it. It's a shame that you can't. I suppose my final thing is, would you? What about? Is a little bit of. I know you've got legal advisors and you pay very good money for them, but I can give you a bit of free advice if you want it. Why not have Senator Philip Joseph as the External Relations Minister and put Senator Balash on the backbenches?
Neil, you know very well that neither of those two things are within my power or within my gift. I do find it slightly ironic. I enjoy coming on the phone in with Tony every month. I'm very grateful to Senator Green, who did it last month, because I'd had a week of doing media things. But let me just remind you, the month before that, I was taking question after question after question about why I didn't remove Senator Oza from his particular role. So as they say, a week is a long time in politics. Neil, I say that I don't think that my colleague Senator Balash is undermining me. I think it's right that we have proper, robust conversations in public. I think that we've got no choice but to change. And we've got to change the way we protect children, the way we think about children, the way we care for children, and we've also got to change the way that we deliver services as a public service. I'm going to be very clearly, I already have, and I am again over the next 10 months, going to be setting out that radical vision of where we need and want to get to. Others will have a different vision. And when we get to the election, I will be judged on whether the public of this island think it's time for change. It's time for doing things differently. It's time for listening to the public. It's time for listening to children. It's time for saying, yes, how can we deliver for the people of this island? Not time for saying, no, we can't do it. No, we don't want to change. No, we want to stay just as we are.
Sounds like your election campaign just got underway, Chief Minister.